Hello everyone and welcome to PSGL F9 here for the Brazilian Grand Prix, the final race of season 29 here. I am your commentator Jackson and alongside me is Storm.
Yes, good evening ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a wonderful and beautiful part of Brazil in Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix, round number 15, the season finale. And I'm sure this one might just not have all the fireworks, as the championship has been wrapped up by Kai and Rob, who actually isn't here this week. He's taken the week off, it looks like it, and he's going to let the others maybe take a race win. And but the Constructors' Championship is still alive here, so every point does matter, as Kid Smoke takes provisional pole here at the moment.
Yeah, I have a timing glitch on my screen, so those watching the stream, ignore the timer at the top left, because obviously they haven't, it's not 17 minutes left in the session, because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to set laps yet. So ignore that timer, we'll have to just guess when it ends. Hopefully that'll be a clear, nice ending to the session. For some reason that's glitched, which isn't ideal. But yeah, drivers are setting their first laps around the circuit at the moment. As you mentioned earlier, Kai and Rob not here today, so we potentially see a winner that we haven't already seen this season, which would be nice to see. Equally, it could be one of our sort of drivers that have had a few wins already this season, because of course Kai and Rob isn't the only driver that's won this season. Bandini's won a few and he also isn't here at the moment, at least. Felix won another driver that's won this season a couple of times as he joins now, so maybe he can be the driver to win today, but he will have to start at the back of the field because he has joined mid-qualifying. We could see some of the sort of drivers that proved themselves perhaps early season or late season, if that makes sense. So we had drivers like Dustly and Black Yoshi look very strong at the start of the season, but then couldn't quite keep that up throughout. And equally on the other end of the scale, we've had drivers that have joined late in the season and therefore couldn't be in the title fight for that reason. So it sort of could be a mix of drivers up at the front today, and a chance for a lot of these guys to sort of prepare themselves for next season, sort of end the season on a high so that they've got some momentum going into next season.
Yeah, I think with this track as well, track limits are going to be the driver's nightmare, as such as we know turn 1 and turn 2. If you get it wrong, you are going to track extend. But yeah, a lot of drivers are opting for the soft compound tyre, and also a few on the mediums. We don't know what the race and weather will be, but hopefully it may just be a little bit of rain, because we have had, except from Silverstone, a dry race nearly every race. We've not really had any weather changes here in F9, so it would be nice if we had a little bit of rain.
Indeed, of course, Interlagos is a place where the rain can come in suddenly. Black Yoshi to the top of the times with a 106.981 there on the soft compound tyres, sitting his lap time slightly later than a lot of other drivers, so that could be a sign that track is picking up as the session goes on, and allowing for these drivers to set better and better lap times. But equally still, a very nice lap there from Black Yoshi to put himself at the top of the timesheets as we sort of the first runs of the session end. I would have to imagine he maybe invalidated one of his first attempts because he's a bit out of sync with the rest of the field at the moment, but with the length of the session, hopefully he'll have time to sort of get back into sync for the final few runs of the session.
Yeah, and I think the nature of this track as well, because it's such a short track, it's around about a 1 minute 6 to 1 minute 7 lap time for these guys as well, so they'll be able to do maybe more than one banker if they do invalidate, because of how long they have on the track. And if it is going to be any rain in the race, the drivers will use these tyres to the max limit they can, so people will be doing quite a lot of runs on the soft. So that's one way to tell if it is going to be a wet race, or race start is on a wet compound tyre, because they won't need the softs or the mediums a lot if it is on that intermediate or wet tyre compound at the start.
Hyped currently on a flying lap now as he makes his way up through the middle sector of the lap, and he's backed off, I believe. Yes, he has. I think he's realised this lap isn't the one. Perhaps going to save his batteries and do what you suggested, which is go for a second lap on these tyres. Tyre wear around here isn't super high. I think soft medium should be the priority strategy for most of these guys, so tyre wear isn't a big worry, but still, of course, it's better to have the less wear you have on your tyres, the better. It's as simple as that, I suppose. Hype now preparing for his next lap of the session. Hype, to be fair to him, this is a big chance for him. He's third in the championship, I believe, at this stage of the season. One of the 3 drivers that were in championship contention in Baku. Of course, now Kai and Rob does have it sealed and sorted, so He's not in the fight anymore, but he was one of the 3 drivers that did keep it going as long as he did. So maybe this is a chance for him to prove what he can do without those guys, without Bandini and Cohen Rob here, and just sort of show off the pace that he can put in, because clearly he's had some brilliant consistency throughout the season to keep himself in that fight. But now it's a race which realistically doesn't really mean much. He's driving for Haas, which I don't believe they're in the Constructors' title fight at the moment. I believe that's Mercedes versus Alfa Romeo. So it really is all or nothing for him today, so he can take the risks that perhaps he couldn't take earlier in the season.
Yeah, and if it is Mercedes and Alfa Romeo, I hope no FIA are involved in this. Because Tucson is the only solo driver from either team here, as Karen Robb isn't here and Bandini's not here, the 2 top point scorers, I believe, from both teams. So this is riding on Tucson, and Tucson has been in a lot of the podium places since joining F9, so he's got the pace. Also, we can't forget Pachuca. I believe he's the only driver to take a pole position and a race win this season. As Black Yoshi, or no, was that Kid Smoke that's gone up into... TRT Lars now goes up into second, as Pachuca goes and sets the provisional pole lap with a 1 minute 6.9.
Yeah, that's a good lap there from Pachuca. The track is clearly ramping up now at the moment. Drivers setting more and more competitive lap times, which is great to see. The track is improving and that these drivers do have some time in them. I imagine we'll see them perhaps getting into the mid 106s. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think lap times are saying now they've definitely got more pace in them towards the end of the session, as you would imagine. But yeah, Pachuca at the top of the times at the moment, and looking good.
Yeah, and just looking at it, you know, we started this 15 weeks ago, this championship season in Bahrain. GTX was the first winner. Time Razim, who's not in this tier anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, so a lot of driver race winners that have changed multiple times. We've had Pachuca, we've had Karen Robb, GTX. So, you know, we can't say that, you know, this championship hasn't been boring or whatever. It's been a very interesting one, and it's unfortunate that it didn't get taken all the way to Brazil. Unfortunately, it got wrapped up in Baku, but Mercedes and Alfa Romeo are still in that constructors fight, and hopefully Tucson can get the Mercedes over the line in his race tonight. He is currently in P7, but he has got the pace, I believe, to get himself up on that top podium as he has done previous races.
Lots of well-related lap times out here on the circuit at the moment, I will say. Valabet is just starting their lap time now, and they're a little bit loose because they come down the hill now. A steep drop-off as they make their way down through the centre S, now through turn 3, keeping it nice and tight to the left-hand side of the track, making it the shortest run possible down towards turn 4. A corner now I believe will be made infamous by the Hamilton-Verstappen crash. I'm sure not the only corner this year that's been made infamous by those two. But Valabet now on this lap, looking to have a good lap time as Mentos goes to the top of the timesheets, just edging himself by 100th to the top of the times. But it's so insanely close. The top 3 at the moment covered by, that's what, 12 milliseconds. I mean, I quite like seeing this, how close the order is at the moment without Bandini and Cohen Robb here. But equally, they do bring a little bit of extra...
spice.
Yeah, they do. It adds that little extra something when there is a slightly bigger field. But at the moment, it's looking very nice at the front of the order, with just those guys up there at the moment. Kid on that lap as well, so maybe he can get himself in the mix for that top spot. Valabet's going to come around the final corner now. Where's he going to put himself? Can he put himself anywhere near those top guys? No, not quite. 1.1 seconds off at the moment. But for a first time lap of the session, to not be last, as I say, it's got to be the aim really for your first lap of the session that is timed. Because, I mean, you have no expectation, you have no real delta to work off of, so a lot of learning going in that first lap. So, solid first lap there from Valabet, and is in the top 10. And only 3 drivers will have a free choice of tyres for this race, one of those being Felix Swan, of course. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe Dustley or Powdy, is he on the track at the moment? He is, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two, like, deliberately stays at the back, because I don't think they've quite got the pace. If you don't think you've got the pace to get maybe, like, top 5, it might just be worth sitting back, starting 11th or 12th, and just taking home, like, taking the fresh tyres, the the free choice of tyres for the race start, and working off of that, because whilst it would be nice to obviously qualify top 6, top 7, if your best position realistically is only going to be P8, what's the point in taking those slightly worn tyres for the race start? You might as well give yourself some options for the race, especially if weather comes into it.
Yeah, and also a safety car that could throw up that situation, or a VSC, because the cars will have to decrease their power by 40% around the lap if there is a VSC, and VSCs can bring drive-throughs, and the safety car can bring in 5-second penalties if drivers do make contact. So there's a lot of contributing factors, because, and also this is a short track as well. It's only as we've seen times come in between the 1:06s and the 1:08s. So can Felix do what he did in USA, where he went really early? I know it was in the rain, in the wet, but he may just be on course for a very good result come the end of the season, as this is the season finale, and I think it may just set him up for whatever tier if he does get in next season.
That's very true, of course. At this stage of the season, especially those that did join late, it's less about sort of their actual points they're scoring in the sort of the championship position. It's more about just putting themselves in a position to be in the best tier they can be in for the following season of PSGL. Because when you've got this many tiers running, it's almost important to not only prove yourself in the tier you're in, but I think it's the drive of a lot of these drivers is to try and get themselves up the tiers in the future, and to avoid falling down them, because we have seen that this season, as some drivers have dropped down a tier mid-season. And I think, whilst to an extent, obviously you want to be in a tier where you're competitive, because I think everyone here wants to win and do well, but equally they're sort of, if you're in F11 and you're winning there, you're surely looking to try and get up into an F10 or an F9, as we are here, and to try and improve yourself. And I'm sure likewise that goes for the guys in F9, trying to get up into F8, F7, and maybe even higher. Of course, assist restrictions start to come in there, but I think if you've got the pace and the talent to do those sorts of lap times, get those sorts of races in, as invalidation there for Pachuca, I think it's sort of, that's got to be the drivers to try and get up into the higher tiers and get into a higher profile tier almost, because of course the higher tier you are, the more impressive it is to those around you, because of course you want to be in the highest tier. It's a simple nature. You want to be in the top series. So yeah, I think all these guys will be pushing hard to try and put themselves in a good position for next season. Of course, there is the sign-up process that does come in as well, but I'm sure the admins will take a good look at the previous seasons to see how these drivers have done in their limited appearances, and take that into account when considering the lineups for the next season of PSGL.
Yeah, and I think if some of these drivers are back in F9, like Tusum, Felix, Lars, and also Pachuca as well, I think if they can get a full season run, depending on who is in F9, they may just be a few championship contenders in here, because on their day, Pachuca can win a race, Felix can win a race, Tusum can win a race, and so can Hyped. They just have been unlucky. It's like Monza. I think Hyped was doing quite well, and he I think he did finish, but because I think both Hasses didn't finish that day. But yeah, that's also key, your teammate being here. That's, I think, Hype's downfall. Jamie hasn't been here for nearly 80% of the race. I think we haven't seen Jamie since Monza, and that's well over 7 races ago. As Kid Smoke goes even quicker with the provisional pole of a 1:06.8, as Dustley has retired from the session, and that's in coming out of turn 2. So that's going to be, yeah, quite a bit of an issue and a distraction for the drivers coming out of turn 2.
Pachuca now does go second, just 2 milliseconds off of pole position there. I just thought I'd ask you now, once those yellow flags have cleared, as Lars goes to the top of the timesheets by, again, just the smallest of margins, 4 milliseconds he goes pole by. And what are the lap times here? They're so insanely close. Quick question though to you, Storm, because neither me or the viewers can get a good view of it. How long is left in this session, just so we have an idea of how long is to go?
I can't either. I can't confirm on that one. That's a negative.
Let's hope we can soon, because this could be the final runs of the session. We could be congratulating someone on pole soon, but I have no idea. It is the end of the session. Black Yoshi's got checkered flag, so this must be the final laps of the session. Kid Smoke's invalidated his lap, so that he'll not improve. Pachuca, is he on a lap? No, he's not on a fast lap at the moment. Mentos is on a lap at the moment, and he is improving. Can Mentos take the pole position here for the Brazilian Grand Prix? He can go fastest here by half a tenth. Brilliant lap time there from Mentos. It's not much when you say it on its own, but when you consider how close the rest of the field is, brilliant lap from Mentos. Is there anyone that can dethrone him? Lars in second, not on a lap. Neither is Pachuca. Carlsbury's come around the final corner. He is on a pretty good lap at the moment. Is it enough though to jump himself into that pole position slot? So far, so good. It is a very quick lap for Carlsbury in the Red Bull. It comes around the final corner of the lap, flat out all the way to the line. Where can he put himself? It is pole position for Carlsbury from a brilliant lap there. Over 2 tenths clear of the field. A brilliant lap for the Red Bull driver. Really out of nowhere from, well, way down the field. Carlsbury puts himself up onto pole position. And is there anything anyone could do? No, nobody is on a better lap time. It is Carlsbury who will take pole position for the Brazilian Grand Prix and for the final race of the season. The Red Bull driver is on the pole position.
Yeah, fantastic lap, and I'm trying to work out what Vavabet is doing. He's just spun himself completely, and he's now sitting on the track, and he's not moving.
Could he be trying to get himself disqualified?
Well, I don't. The thing is, he's had an up and down season. He's had a qualifying ban. He's been to the stewards more times than I can't remember.
Yeah.
He is now disqualified from the session.
He's done that so he gets free choice to tyres, because as I was saying earlier, you don't really want to start that sort of back end of the top 10.
That may get investigated because he's done that on purpose. That's obviously something for the stewards after.
Yeah. So if that was like Portugal or something, you wouldn't have had to do it on purpose, because all you have to do there is have a spin and you get disqualified for going the wrong way. So, but it is, as I said, Carlsbury, the Finnish driver, on pole position ahead of Mentos and Lars in third. It is Kid Smoke in fourth, Pachuca in fifth, Twosome in sixth with Black Yoshi seventh, Hyped eighth, Sunboy in ninth, Dustly promoted to P10 after that disqualification for Vavabet, Powdy in 11th on the medium tyres, and Felix on a course not being able to qualify after joining the session. And as I said, Vavabet being disqualified means that he is also at the back of the field. But I must say, it's a mixed up grid here, but not in the sense that it's sort of got quick guys at the back and slow guys at the front. It's very much, it makes sense, but equally it also doesn't when you see some of the names up and down the order. So I think it really does set up a really good Grand Prix here that could bring some surprises, because I don't know, this circuit does sometimes just bring out something different in drivers. It requires a different skill to some of the other circuits, and with Carlsbury on the pole position with Mentos alongside, there's two drivers that have had some very high highs this season, but equally have had some lows. So I look forward to seeing those two battle in the race. And I mean, I have to say once again, credit to Carlsbury, a dominant pole position. It's only 2 tenths, I know, but comparing him to the rest of the field, it is a huge margin.
Yeah, I think anything over 1/10 in F1, it's so massive these days with these hybrid cars. It doesn't matter if it's virtual or real life, it can make a difference, especially in the dirty air. I know these all are equal performance cars, but you know, every driver will drive different. Every, you know, driver will take a corner differently and nurse their tyres completely different. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, especially that top 4. That is one spicy top 4. All of them could win the race.
And none of them have really got anything to lose. Like all they can take from this race is they win the race, they prove themselves and make themselves sort of stand out. They finish second or third, whilst it's a podium and still a great result. It's not necessarily going to grab people's attention like a win would. So these guys really can risk it all today, which, from a commentary perspective, is going to make for some very exciting racing.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't see any turn 4 incidents. But yeah, we are now going to have the mandatory formation lap, which Carlsbury will lead all the drivers away from the start line. So, as mentioned before, this race will be 36 laps around the Sao Paulo track in Brazil. as I believe it's been renamed the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. I don't think it's called the Brazilian GP anymore, but it is still in Brazil and it is still in Sao Paulo, so we'll go with the Brazilian Grand Prix. So the top 10 are on the soft compound tyre of the dry Pirelli C2, C3 and C4 compound. It is a one-stop strategy here, a soft to medium for the drivers, a nice easy one-stop to finish off the season here in PSGL F9, as we are coming through on the formation lap, and then Poldi, Felix 1 and Vavabet have been put on the mediums, so high chance of a safety car, maybe, possibly, depends where people crash. VSC is also the same. People can cause a safe VSC, should I say, if the incident or whatever they've had happen on the track can cause that. As Carlos Free, I don't think is wanting to hang around. He is quite a margin in front of Mentos. Now Mentos has been on pole position before. He's been on the front row. I don't think Lars has. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be Ferrari versus Red Bull. We haven't seen this in a long while. It's normally been Mercedes and Red Bull this season. So it's going to be interesting, as the drivers are now going to be overtaken by the AI, as they will be put into their grid slots. I would love if the AI did not do this and the drivers had to do it themselves. It would be quite good to see, as the drivers are all now coming into the grid slots, as we will prepare for the final race here in PSGL for season 29 in F9, as the drivers are now lining up in their grid slots as we wait for the red lights. I will just get into a better position for the lights, as you can't see the lights here in Brazil, which is the most annoying thing, so I'm gonna have to guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Oh, Tusum gets a drive through and it's lights out and away we go. So Tusum has a drive through as they come down into so on. Oh, Mentos just gets squeezed in there and gets himself up to P1, and it's sector 1 yellow flags, but we'll keep an eye on the rest of the grid, as Mentos is gonna defend that massively from Carlsby, but that is Carlsby down to P2, but it's also hyped on, I believe, with Kid Smoke. The Alpine and the Haas are battling, and also TRT Lars is right on the back of Carlsbury, so maybe Carlsbury may have suffered some damage. Oh, he nearly goes into the back of him. That's very close. So let's go further down the grid, and it seems to be all okay at the moment, but Tusum with the drive-through penalty here on lap number 1.
Yeah, Tusum just making a rookie error there from, I believe, what was it, 4th or 5th position. It was a silly mistake to make here, but it's an easy one, clearly, as he doesn't have to serve a drive-through penalty. The earlier he does it, the smarter, really, because if there is a safety car, which is very possible around here, he could well catch back up. But Hype now racing with Lars. I think there may have been a bad exit there from one of the two of them. But up at the front it is, as you said, Mentos, who sent it up the inside of turn one. A very brave move, as we got 4 cars in the pits with damage already. Wow, that's a surprising start to the race. But Mentos, with that send in turn 1, really committed. He knew what he wanted to be. He wanted to be the race leader here today, and he took it straight away and has held it so far, with Carlsbury in second, Lars maintaining position in P3. Hype gained 4 positions on that race start there. Brilliant getaway for the Haas driver. Losing 1 position was Kid Smoke. Dustly gained 4 positions, an amazing 6 positions from the very back of the grid. Valabet up into 7th, but of course very much at the back of the field at the moment is Black Yoshi, as he only now exits the pit lane. 6 positions lost at the start of that race for the Williams driver. Far from ideal for him, but it's a long race, and as I said earlier, anything can happen around Brazil. We could well see a safety car that mixes up things once again, and who knows who will end up on the top step today. But at the moment it is Mentos who leads the field as they prepare to finish lap 2 and begin lap 3.
Yeah, and just before Felix did pit, I don't know what his damage was for, but Felix made an impressive from P13 to P7, as they're all trading fastest laps here, and this is what racing is about. And DRS is now enabled, so Carlsbury, he's going to get DRS as he goes down out of turn 2, and Mentos is just... Is he going to go for it? He's having a look. He is... Nope, the door gets closed as they go through turn 4 and make their way up to turn 5. Carlsbury is right on the back of that Ferrari. Mentos must be, well, defending for his life here, as Tusum is now into the pits, so he's dropped right to the back of the grid, and Hyped and Lars may just want to back off a little bit and let these two in front fight, because they could be up for a race win up for grabs here.
Yeah, it is, of course, in the early stages of the race, sometimes it's the smarter thing just to stay back and watch the drivers ahead of you battle. Hype made an impressive move on Lars to get up into third position just at the start of that lap into turn 4. Which has got himself into a podium position now, but as you said, these top two battling away, they're probably going to go wheel to wheel to turn 1 on this occasion. Carlsbury is in the slipstream, he's going to go to the outside line, it's going to be an easy flying past into turn 1 there for Carlsbury. No defence really could be offered from Mentos unless he planned on braking way later than was possible for any car. But it is now back to the lead for Carlsbury. Mentos in second place. Hype will have watched that and be thinking sort of maybe sitting in P2 is where you really want to be in this race, because the power of the DRS for Carlsbury then was huge, which surely means that, a bit like we saw in USA, you almost want to be in second place when it matters, because you really just don't want to be the guy giving the slipstream to everyone else. So Hyped here could well want to try and push to get into that second place, but as we saw from Mentos at the start of the race, he isn't really desperate, well, he is desperate, sorry, to sort of get in front here. You see some drivers prefer to sort of sit back in the DRS and sort of follow the leader, nurse their tyres, make sure they're safe on fuel, all of those things. But Mentos wanted to lead this race, but the send he sent into turn 1, that was so committed, and then with the weaving down towards turn 4, he wanted the race lead, but he hasn't been able to do much with it. Carlsbury now rocketing away out front. It is a really changing fortune now. Mentos going from hero on lap 1 now to struggling to stay in DRS. He does have it this lap, but probably won't have it going down the towards turn 4 on lap 5. Hyped could now be the guy that is attacking Mentos on this next lap of the race, but it is Carlsbury pulling away out front, and well, it's very impressive for the Red Bull driver so far in this race.
Yeah, and I think any F1 driver will tell you, you don't want to be that guy that is where Carlsbury is in first, because you don't know what the second place guy is going to do until he's done that. You know, we see it so many times in F1. The second driver will go for the undercut, and they will, you know, be on the fresher tyres, and they will, you know, and also it gives the second place Mentos a choice of a 2-stop if they want to do it. If there is a safety car, they can, like, say if they've already pitted, like Felix has, then they can, you know, under that safety car, they've got a second stop, you know, and they're on fresh tyres. So for me, being in first place, yes, it's great, you know, you've got the control of the race, but when it comes to pit stops and safety cars, it's an absolute nightmare. So for Carlsbury, he doesn't want any safety cars now, and he doesn't want any VSCs. He just wants to do his race and get on with the one stop that he probably has planned, as that gap is now 1.5, so Mentos is now out of the DRS, but Hype is right on the back of Mentos, so this could be a change for P2.
Yeah, Hype's really in the toe there. He's got DRS. He's going to go to the inside now as they get towards turn 4, but he backs out of that one perhaps smartly there. It's a risky move to the inside of turn 4. It's definitely one that you can make, but a dive would certainly risk your front wing, which when he's in a podium position is just not something you want to do. So with the pace that he clearly has at the moment, he's sure he's quite happy to sit behind the Ferrari car and just take the DRS, save some ERS, and perhaps conserve in the slipstream at the moment. Whilst Carlsbury is pulling away quite a bit out front at the moment, he is using more ERS than Mentos in second place. Mentos has a huge amount of ERS at the moment, which means that he's going to have so much more to save. Well, he has more saved up for maybe later on in this race. So I wouldn't say, whilst Carlsbury has run away a little bit here, I don't think that's going to be nice and simple and easy for him now, because he is now going to have to sort of conserve a little bit, as Sunboy does get a penalty there for track limits. But Mentos, whilst he is saving that ERS, it isn't really working for him, because maybe I don't see... I get the fact that he's trying to save his ERS as Hype make this nice simple move into turn 1, but I would have thought Mentos would have used more ERS once he fell behind Carlsbury to stay with him, because he definitely has the ERS to keep up with Carlsbury at the moment, I feel. So sort of I struggle to understand why he wouldn't use it there and then, as he now does try and fight around the outside of Hyped, and he does run off the road there. Rather appropriate for turn 4 to see a car bouncing along in the runoff area there. But Mentos, I mean, the fact he's just tried to go around the outside of Hyped in turn 4 suggests to me that he does really want to hold on to track position, same as what happened on lap 1, but it just doesn't add up to me that he's also saving the errors he has, because Carlsberg, our race leaders, well, he's saved a little bit now, he's on 46%, you got Hyped in P2 on 32, and then you've got Mentos on 70%. Let's see what Lars is on. Lars 56. He's the highest of the top 4 as Mentos, yet he's still sort of reluctant to use it, despite the fact that he does appear to be dropping back a little bit. So I don't fully understand it myself, but if this race does stay green, then I see then, yeah, it will pay him back later in the race. But if there's a safety car, that whole advantage of having more ERS is gone, because everyone will be back on 100%, and that's nullified that advantage.
Yeah.
So I don't fully see what he's doing here, but I'll happily be proved wrong if he does start to put on a charge in the next few laps.
And also, I think with Carlsbury, just looking at his sector times, Sector 3, just on its own, he was down 4 tenths. That's not a small margin. That's nearly half a second. He was 4.5 tenths down on just Sector 3. So if he has got a problem, it's not affecting him as much now. And also, the two medium runners, Pauli and Vavabet, not really making any inroads up the grid at the moment. But Vavabet is going to possibly battle with Dustly for P6, as Sunboy and Black Yoshi are having a battle, but it is for P11. But yeah, Mentos and Hyped may just want to, you know, hold back a little bit, because Lars is right on the back of Mentos. He's now going to get the DRS. Well, they all are going to get DRS except from Hyped. So this could be very interesting.
Yeah, Mentos going to go to the outside here of turn 1, down the centre S. That's surely not going to work out for him, as yeah, Hype does send that into the corner and holds that position. But look how close they're going to be out of the corner here. They're basically all nose to tail. Surely Hype can do nothing to defend this position with the power of DRS. Lars is going to sit back, save his DRS, and watch as these two battle. This could end in tears right now. As they go into turn 4, Mentos retakes P2. Hype drops down to P3. Lars maintaining that P4 though. I don't think he really wanted to get involved in that scrap. I think he saw that was potentially going to be a bit too big of a risk to try and make it free wide into turn 4. He saved a bit of DRS, maybe saved a little bit of fuel as well in the process of backing out of that and avoiding any battles there. So a good smart move there from Lars to sort of watch this battle take place in front of him. But all this battling for P2 is allowing Carlsbury to pull away in the lead, which is perhaps counterproductive from these guys, because I mean, I don't know, it does play. Of course Carlsbury did storm to that pole position, but still it seems to me that these guys appear to have the pace to keep up with Carlsbury, but their little sort of squabbling between each other is really costing them a lot of time at the moment, and meaning that they're losing out a lot to Carlsbury, and they're all on the same tyres, they're all same tyre life as they battle once again. As whoa, where's Hyped going to the inside there? Lots of weaving on the straight, sending it to the inside goes Hyped. He does retake P2. But as I was saying, this squabbling is not going to be helping them to fight for the win, so who knows what their plan is, but they're certainly having a good time in this battle of P2, as they're again wheel to wheel as they go towards turn 4, and it is Mentos that takes back P2 in this race, with Lars still just watching on this battle. Battle slow down the order though, with Black, oh no, there's cars in the pits, and yeah, we've got a few cars pitting now. Kid Smoke to the hard tyres. I believe he started on the soft. That's an unusual strategy there, unless he had some wing damage. We've got a battle low between Powdy and Favabet. These two both on the medium tyres. They're going to wheel to wheel up the hill in Sector 2. That's a risky place to do it. They're still side by side. So they're getting crammed up behind Dustly at the moment. And very much still side by side, diving back down towards the other end of the circuit. Gets pushed off wide, does Powdy. He's going to lose the position to Pachuca there. Is he going to push him off the road? No, he just about keeps room for the McLareners outside, as these guys are really in a pack of cars here, racing so hard. Dustly's under threat now from Vavabet. It is brilliant racing throughout the field. Always like stack up into each other at the final proper corner. Looks like a bit of a pile up going into there now, but let's hope they've all got away without wing damage, because that would ruin what is looking like a very nice battle at the moment. But once again, I believe there could well be, as some cars do pull into the pits now. We've got another little battle going on for P2 in this race. The battle that seemed to be never ending. Hyped is on the back of Mentos. Will he send one to the inside of turn 4? He does not, and stays back at this stage of the race.
Yeah, this is for Carlsbury. He's just probably thinking these to his head. Yeah, keep battling, keep battling. I'll just extend my gap. As Dustly and Vavabet.
Oh, around goes Dustly and into the wall. That's big damage there for Dustly, as his entire wing has come off, and there is a virtual safety car out on the circuit. that could be the opportunity for all of these top guys to come into the pit lane and get a fresh pair of tyres on. That is a good question.
And they all have to respect the delta. They can't, because they've got to reduce it by their speed by 40% and then keep it in. Carlsbury is in. Carlsbury has opted for his pit stop. So, will that trigger? Yep, that's triggered. Mentos hyped.
Lars stays out.
And Lars has opted to stay out. Carlsbury for the hards.
I think I'd have gone mediums, to be honest. Maybe that's a risk, but I don't know. Let's see what they have to do. Mentos does go mediums.
Yeah, that's why they're the drivers and we're the commentators.
Well, Mentos agrees with me.
A little bit of fun, yeah.
We have been outvoted, though.
Yeah. Got to have a little bit of fun on the last stream, eh?
Of course.
For F9. But, virtual safety car here on lap number 12 of 36. Is it half? What's half? I'm trying to work out what half of 36 is now.
Half 36 would be 18.
So we're just not even halfway yet, and we're already having pit stops. The hards will go to the end. There's no doubt about that. They are not going to have any puncture territory. 5-second penalty for Mentos for ignoring yellow flags.
And drive-through for Pachuca.
The one guy you don't want it to be, and it's Pachuca. As
they're battling once again in this second sector. What is going on? There seemed to be some sort of kerfuffle down at turn 4 at the end of the virtual safety car. I think that's where an Aston stopped on track. I believe the Alpine and Favabet may have been involved as well. But yeah, that's a curious turn of events down at that point in the field. What happened to Mentos over that 5-second time penalty? That's not speeding, because that would have been a drive-through penalty, so he must have overtaken someone, but who's he overtaken? I mean, Hyped has lost a ton of time, so something's clearly happened here for Hyped, but it's a strange series of events as Felix 1 is now on the back of a Haas driver.
Yeah, Felix 1 up into P4, just a reminder, he did start back of the grid. And he is, I believe he's committed to a 2-stop now, as he did soft, so I'm expecting a set of mediums around about, how many laps has he done? 10? Well, Lars has gone 12 laps, so I expect in the next 2 to 3 laps we could see Felix in, but Felix will be on much fresher tyres and he will literally storm through that field, no pun intended. Yeah, but Carlsbury at the moment is the net race leader, as he is on fresh hards, and he's got a 6.7 gap to Lars. So Lars may want to think about a pit stop, but will he do the gamble and maybe pray for a safety car or a VSC?
That's a good point here, but I must admit, I'm a little bit lost by what's happening under this virtual safety car. It's really strange, because there's now a 7.5 second gap between Mentos and Carlsbury. That was about 3 seconds. And there's now also an 8-second gap between Mentos and Hyped, and that was probably about a second at maximum. So something really strange happened under the virtual safety car. I mean, Lars also, he's only 6.5 seconds ahead in the lead, and he was only about 5 seconds off the leader before the virtual safety car. I know you get a cheaper pit stop, but 11 seconds for a pit stop, that seems a bit too cheap to sort of be believable. So certainly a strange virtual safety car. I think we'll have to wait and see what the drivers say after the race about it, to be honest, because a strange series of events here that, sadly, I believe sort of ruined the action we've had. A great battle for P2 has now been very much split, with Lars staying out, and of course Hyped and Mentos being split up for whatever reason behind the virtual safety car. It's a very strange series of events here, as that's off the road. I believe that's, is that Kid Smoke? No, that's a slow Valabet. There we go. Valabet, I believe, is spun coming down the hill and reset the track. So yeah, that's another strange incident to have here, but I think we have to look to the midfield for our battles at this point in the race, to be honest.
Yeah, we are going to have to deep dive into the midfield battles here. I think for the 5-second penalty that Mentos received is for overtaking or attempting to overtake a car under it. Maybe, is it double wave yellows for that penalty? I believe it is. Obviously we haven't seen it, but yeah, very strange that they've dropped off quite a bit, as Dusty picks up a corner cutting pen for exceeding track limits. As we've got a battle here for P4, which is Hyped and Felix as they come through turn 4, I believe. Yeah, and wow, Felix was literally pushing the Haas. It's not that slow, Felix. You don't need to push it, mate. As they come through and up the hill, they are going to go side by side. And Felix, is he going to get past? They need to be close here because this is a very tight corner. And it looks like Hyped has the move. Oh, a little bit of wing touch there on the diffuser of from Felix to Hyped. He may be sending him a Christmas present. We are in the festive season. But yeah, Lars is in the pits. Lars lasted 15 laps on the softs, so I suspect Felix will be going for another 3 laps.
That is a very good point there. But yeah, Lars going on those sets of tyres. But I think, I don't know, it's a strange, as I said, a strange series of events under the virtual safety car, which means I really don't know where people are going to be coming out here. It's a very great camera angle for Lars at the moment. There we go, it's finally fixed. He's going to come out in P3 here and ahead of Felix 1 and Hyped here. Which, so despite the fact Hyped pit under virtual safety car, as you do have yellow flags for no reason, he's lost lots of time in this virtual safety car, and it really has mixed things up. But Lars now looks in a pretty comfortable P3. He's out in P3 at the moment. He's got fresh tyres. He's got an 8-second gap in front, so unless there's a full safety car, I think that'll probably stay as it is. But behind him he's got Felix, who needs to pit again 1.3 seconds back, and behind him he's got Hyped on the hard, so that's really no threat behind at the moment. So I think Lars found himself in a pretty safe podium unless he makes a mistake, but it's still a good race. We've got a great battle going on between Hyped and Felix 1 at the moment. I think it's worrying for Hyped's race that he's sort of matching the pace with someone on 13 lap softs, because that suggests that the mediums would probably have been the better way. If very, very worn softs are that speed, then very worn mediums are probably going to be not that bad. As he does pass on the straight, but Hyped up into P4. A strange series of events here, but at the moment it is still Carlsbury out in the lead on the hard compound tyres though, so maybe we'll see that come into play. I think if there was to be a safety car, he would have to pit onto the softs, but he does lead the way in this race, with Mentos in P2 and Lars in P3 as they still battle it out for that 4th position between Felix 1 and Hyped. Hyped on the outside. These two are they going to wheel to wheel up the hill once again? They're still side by side. It's brilliant racing here. Felix 1 this time doesn't try it around the outside of that corner and will settle in behind the Haas car.
Yeah, these two seem to be battling for that P4. Every point is crucial, as it may get you a few places up the championship. It may just give you, like you said, you know, it would look good on the final results. So yeah, I think for Hyped, he has the potential. He is a really good driver. Well, they all are here. That's why they're in this tier. They are in the 9th tier of the PS leagues and the highest assist tier, as Felix is down to the pits a lap earlier than Lars did. And I wonder if Sunboy is going to do the same. He doesn't, but Felix going now for the medium compound tyre.
Yeah, it's Felix, of course, that lap 1 incident has cost him a lot of time in this race now. But he's still, I imagine, going to come out in the points paying positions, of course, because of all the drama that we have seen today. It is allowing him to stay in the fight here, but still not an ideal situation for Felix. He's showing some great pace in this race, as we saw in the battle with Hyped. It was some brilliant driving from the pair of them. So I think Felix knows that he had more in this race. If it wasn't for whatever happened on lap 1, as he now does come out in 8th position, very, very close here with the two Williams cars and a Williams sandwich as he heads into turn 4. But yeah, I think unless there's a safety car, I think Felix will be sort of wondering what could have been in this race. Because whilst it is still points, I think with his pace being as strong as it has been today, there was definitely, I think, more on the table that he wasn't able to take.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, yeah, he's had a drive-through. He's not had the best of days. I think he still would get points. I'm just trying to remember if P11 does get points. As Felix is already getting past...
I believe he was waved through there by Dustley, by the looks of things.
Oh, okay. Oh, this could be interesting. The two Williams are right beside each other.
And they're going to be about to be 3 wide to turn 1, I think.
They are going to go 3 wide. Is it going to end well? Oh, the two Williams are going to go at it.
That's a risky one.
That's a risky one.
last person you want to crash into is your teammate. The Williams teams, they've let Felix through on the previous lap and then have immediately passed him straight back. But Felix is going to try and get the pair of them. Can he make a double overtake here? What a move if he can pull this one off, and he does. Felix on with a brilliant overtake, going up into P7, getting past both Williams in one straight. Oh, what a move that was. Of course, the fresh tyres helping him out there, but some brilliant driving there from the AlphaTauri driver, once again proving that he is just outstanding in this race so far today. Just not quite in the position that he perhaps deserves to be, but of course, I mean, I haven't seen the lap 1 incident. Maybe it was his fault, who knows. But still, a recovery drive for Felix 1 he now finds himself on. Sunboy still yet to pit, so that is another position there. Maybe if he gets his head down, there's an outside chance he could catch Kid Smoke on the hard tyres, but that's going to be a very tough one to manage, as Sunboy does now come into the pit lane for some medium compound tyres, you would have to assume. He's relying on a safety car now, I think it's fair to say, to get himself back into the fight. But still, not a bad day. Should still come out, as I said, similar with Felix 1 in the points paying positions, due to sort of this weird attrition race we had. Valvebet in P11 at the moment. But yeah, it's a very spread out field at the moment, with the exception of this midfield pack in the battle for P6. But yeah, apart from that, it is very much spread out between basically everyone, as it's Felix 1 leading in that little battle for P6, with Black Yoshi in P7, Dustley in P8, and then the two McLarens rounding out the points at the moment.
Yeah, and just looking at this, I don't know what the gap is to between Mentos and Hyped. If Hyped can get past Lars, Hyped would look at a podium, potentially a P2. He's only 3.2, possibly 3.1 behind Lars. He is on older tyres, and he is on the hard compound tyres, so the mediums, but they will come to him at more end of the race. He just needs to reduce that gap and maybe get past Lars, because Mentos, if he doesn't pit again, that 5-second penalty will be added to the end of his race. So in one sense, for Mentos, he needs a safety car, but in one, yeah, either he gains the 5 seconds in by gap, or he does it under a safety car, serves it, and somehow gets back up to P2.
That is true. He is really in Carlsbury, but yeah, it's as we've said, it seems very spread out at the moment, and no one seems to be making enough inroads at the moment on anyone else. But Mentos, with that penalty, I think there's potentially a chance that penalty was unfair. That's because it was. I don't see how it could have came, is my sort of question with it. It doesn't really make much sense to me. So I think there's a crash. That is Valvebet. No, it isn't. Oh wait, no. Weird game. Okay, yes, it is Valvebet. I believe he may have caused that. He's got a missing wing on the front left side. He's going to have to stay out the way there of Tusum, who now finds himself into 11th position. But yeah, that's a mistake there for him, as we've got another battle going on, as they're trying to let each other through, going into the final corner. No one wants to be the lead car as they come out of here. I don't know who will end up being the lead cars. That's Dustley trying to lift off and let them through, so that he then gets DRS down the straight. As off the road is Valvebet once again, doing some donuts in the grass. But the battle now for P8, it's a 3-car fight as they head towards turn 1. Who is going to come out on top here? Sunboy's going to go to the inside as he can risk it on his team. Sorry, that's the Pachuca battling with Dustley behind him. As off the road goes Dustley, has to cut the corner. He does get a penalty for that, and I think rightly so, given that he's held that position because of it. But a odd situation there. Dustley trying to let the McLarens through so that he would get a DRS, and then it sort of screwed himself by doing that, because he's been pinned in between the McLarens and had nowhere to go other than off the circuit, it clearly seems. But Dustley having some trouble, I think it's fair to say, at the moment around this Interlagos circuit. But the good news he has is that realistically there's not much chance of him dropping out of the points unless there is some sort of collision, because 10-second gap between 10th and 11th at the moment, so it's not especially close at the back there, as Pachuca does make a mistake as well, so that also helps Dustley's case at the moment. But yeah, up front it is pretty much as they were on lap 23 of this race.
Yeah, and it looks to be that Sunboy is going to have a look at Black Yoshi, the other Williams driver. Fresher mediums. So here we go. DRS activated. He's using that ERS a little bit. He's going to go round the... No, he's going to go down the inside. And I think Pachuca is also going to have a look on the other Williams, as Sunboy can't get the move done. But Pachuca does, as Sunboy is going to have another run, and he's already side by side as they come down into turn 4, I believe it is, as they are still battling, but it looks like Sunboy gets the position and moves himself up to P7.
They did a great impression of Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel banging wheels down towards turn 4. Luckily, both of them got away without any sort of issues or damage or anything like that. Unlike, of course, Leclerc and Vettel in real life. But yeah, that battle seems to have ended quite quickly. But I mean, Black Yoshi's still in the DRS here, but he does have a tyre disadvantage. It feels as though sort of as we get later into the race, they're sort of getting themselves into almost the positions they belong. Sort of the drivers on the fresher tyres. At some point does go very wide, and as I say, that makes a mistake. So he is going to be back under pressure now into turn 1. But it feels like those with the fresher tyres are making their way towards the front, and those that sort of with the more worn tyres are dropping back ever so slightly. But yeah, this is going to be a good opportunity for Black Yoshi to keep this fight alive after losing it on the previous lap. He's going to go to the inside. Yes, he is. Inside of turn 1. Can he pull it off? Sunboy doing all he can to defend the position. As we do have yellow flags further down in the order, Black Yoshi does gain the position back up into 7th place. Goes the Williams driver. But Sunboy, with the fresher tyres and the DRS and the ERS, is going to go to the outside. That's a risky move as he goes to the outside of turn 4. Can he make this move stick? Yes, he can. Good move from the McLaren to get himself back up into P8. P7, sorry. But if he does, I mean, if he keeps up this battling, it could be a good idea to be honest. He could back him into could back Black Yoshi into Pachuca, which could allow his teammate to get up a position as well, which of course would be good for the team's championship, I would imagine. But at the moment, it is Sunboy up into P7. Black Yoshi though staying with him at the moment.
Yeah, as Raverbet sets the fastest lap, and that's Paulie into the pits as well. So I wonder if he caused the other flags. Oh no, Paulie has retired, and we have our first retirement of the session. So yeah, and I believe that may be the only one, as 12 laps remain here in the season finale of PSGL F9 for season 29. Carlsbury is your race leader. Oh, Black Yoshi has left the
Black
section.
Yoshi has, yeah, that is a strange scenario. What has happened? That is what on my screen. Black Yoshi is driving as glitched sideways on the main straight. It appears he's lagged out, but in the strangest possible way I've ever seen. But I mean, Sunboy didn't have to back Black Yoshi into Pachuca. It appears that Black Yoshi, with his own internet connection issues, has found himself down out of the points now. And Twosome, despite all that has happened in this race, is now back up into the points here. He's been one of 3 drivers basically all race long outside of the points paying positions. But he does now find himself back up into the top as Valvebet now retires. And that is in the pit lane there. But yeah, that is... Well, we had our first retirement, and then soon after we had our second retirement. So, and with Black Yoshi leaving, that is essentially all but a retirement. Twosome is now basically last place on track, because of course Black Yoshi with some sort of internet connectivity issues. Twosome in the points though, in a position to take home a 1 singular point in this race, full P10. But someone I haven't spoken about much sort of for the second half of this race, or at all I should really say, Carlsbury still leading this race on the hardcore Mentos. He is losing time to Mentos, but it's maybe only a 10th or 2 a lap. It is nowhere near the deficit it would need to be for Mentos to take the lead here. So I think at this stage of the race it's looking very much set in stone, these race results, unless of course there's any incidents later in this Grand Prix. Still 10 laps left in the race, so anything can still happen.
Yeah, as we come to the final 10 laps here in Brazil, we've had an eventful season. We've been to Bahrain, Monza, China, Austria, and also Circuit of America, and I even forgot where we were last week. Mexico. Well, Mexico was the race we don't talk about in F9. But yeah, as we come to the final 10 laps, let's have some final race here, or races should I say, from these fantastic drivers as they close out the final 10 laps here of what's been an epic and fantastic season, as Carlsbury is your race leader with Mentos 5.4 seconds behind. He has a 5-second penalty, which at the moment wouldn't affect him, as he's 8.5 seconds behind TRT Lars in P3. Then in P4, driving an absolute solid race, is the Hash driver of Hype Shoals. And then in 5th, someone we haven't really spoke about that much this race, Kid Smoke, has got himself up to P5. Then in 6th is NLR Felix 1. Then in 7th is Sunboy. Then in 8th is the other McLaren, is Pachuca. 9th is Dustley. And then rounding off the top 10 is Twosome. And luckily in P11 he's got himself back in, and he's in the pits, is Black Yoshi.
Yeah, Black Yoshi there, back in the session, fresh soft tyres, maybe he can go for fastest lap. It won't be a point, of course, he's outside the top 10, but still has something to fight for in this race as he makes his way. I think he's just got back control of his car now, which is good to see. But he is, I believe, now comfortably a lap down thanks to everything that's happened, and the timing pages have gone on strike once again, so apologies for that, viewers. But yeah, it is Carlsbury still in control of this race at the moment, and credit to him, this is a brilliant drive from him so far, and I think it has been a sort of, whilst the early stages were very exciting and it has got quieter towards the end, I suppose, oh, that's off the road, and that's Dustley out of the race! Dustley out of the race there, from 9th position I believe that was. He has crashed out as that's his teammate also spinning, and that is a full safety car. Just when we thought this race was getting quiet, it has flipped on its head. There is a full safety car deployed, and those at the back of the... Yes, Carlsbury will not be able to pit, or will he? Can he beat the safety car onto the racetrack? This is a race between a Red Bull F1 car and a safety car. He can beat the safety car onto the racetrack. So everyone will get a free pit stop
he
here.
has to slow down.
He has to stop. The safety car has retaken him. The safety car has re-overtaken Carlsbury. He had to slow down, and surely that is what was a dominant race. Gone to shreds for Carlsbury. He now finds himself, well, he's out in the lead, but he's on hard tyres. It's Lewis Hamilton in Abu Dhabi, that's what it is. Everyone behind him is going to be on lovely, fresh, warm, soft tyres, but it is Carlsbury now. He has a choice. Does he lose track position, or does he stay out in the lead here and try and hold on to dear life? I don't see a way that he can be in a good situation for this final, 7 laps of the race. But this is really all turned on its head now. Here in Interlagos, oh, what did I say? Never. I can't even remember what I said. I've lost all recollection of what happened in the previous 29 laps. All I know is that Carlsbury now is in a very tough situation. You've got to feel for the guy. Dominated this race from start to finish. He briefly lost the lead, but he took it straight back on Mentos. But now, I imagine if he does come into the pit lane, it'll be Mentos who takes the lead of the race with Lars in P2, hyped in P3. This is going to be, once again, remember that battle we had for P2 at the start? Well, that is now going to be the battle for P1 in this race. Oh, what a race it has been. Mentos did also serve that 5-second time penalty. That is now out of the way. This is a straight fight to the end. Oh my, this is going to be a good finish.
Yeah, as that time is now coming down between Carlsbury. Carlsbury is trying to have a drag race with the safety car. He's got to be careful that he doesn't get himself DSQ'd, because the safety car has now gone past, and Mentos is now your net race leader, and he takes the race lead as TRT Lars is up there. Carlsbury, heartbreak for him, as Black Yoshi has retired.
Retires from P10. I think it's because he was a lap down. I think he knew that there was nothing he was fighting for there.
Yeah, still fight for a point though.
I mean, I think I don't know. Do you get the point for a DNF? It would be 1 point. I don't know. Would you get a point for a DNF? I don't know.
Yeah.
Carlsbury's racing Kid Smoke into turn 4 here. They do realise there's a safety car, don't they? I hope they realise that by the time they catch it. Yeah, Carlsbury up into 4th position.
Safety car there.
Yeah. Oh, he does. I'm sure he does after where he was and where he is now. To be fair, 4th is not a bad position. If Carlsbury can still win this, it'd be one hell of a drive. I will say that.
Yeah.
That would be a good ending.
I've just realised the number that Carlsbury's using on his car is 13.
Unlucky for some. Unlucky for some.
Yeah.
Well, it's unlucky for some. In this case, it's unlucky for him.
Yeah, as they all are bunched up. 9 drivers left. 6-lap sprint race. And if there isn't another race that we had this season, I think this one might just whet the appetite for what could go down as maybe potential race of the season. But yeah, it's going to be a 6-lap or even 5-lap shootout, as the drivers are going to be nicely bunched up, as they're just waiting for the final 3, which is Sunboy, Pachuca and Tunetank. And I tell you what, if it helps anyone, I know it's heartbreak for Carlsbury, but this helps Tunetank massively. 1, he has the pace. 2, he's on the soft tyres. So if he wants to make an impression, then now's your time.
Yeah, this is the chance for so many drivers to sort of it's put them all on an even playing field. Around here, the DRS is so powerful. I think this entire pack will be together for the final few laps of this race. This really is anyone's race. It is it's a sprint race basically, but difference is a sprint race in this game. It's actually possible because you don't have all the issues of dirty air. These guys will stay, and I think that I don't know who I'd want to be in this scenario. Carlsberg honestly might be in a really good position. If setting P4, he's going to avoid like the restart madness. If he can pick off hype shots, he'd be right on the back of the top guys. This is a finish that really could be anyone's. For all we know, Tusum could still win this race. And if he does, that would be brilliant. I think we'd all agree. If he somehow wins it from being almost a lap down for the majority of the race, that would be a wonderful recovery, quite frankly.
I think
driver of the season.
I think if Tucson can get on to a good finish, we know he has the pace because he did it in Mexico. I believe he got the pole in Mexico. A safety car is in this lap, so I'll hand you over to my commentator colleague for the safety car restart here in Brazil.
Yes, here we go. Mentos is weaving. He's going to hold these guys up as long as is humanly possible. He finds himself at the front of the field on a track where you can overtake. You probably want to be in second place towards the later stages of this race, using that DRS to all of your advantage. But we know from lap one of this race, Mentos likes to lead. So let's see what his plan of attack will be for this restart. Lars edging closer and closer to the Ferrari, trying to get a little bit of a jump on him. But it's foot to the floor. It's Mentos who will take the field back to green flag racing here around the Interlagos circuit. They send it into turn one. Mentos on the limit, right behind him it is Lars, hyped in P3 here on the restart. They're all stationary as they make their way down through the hill, the center S. Now towards turn 4 they go. Mentos leads the way. Lars trying to do all he can as we've got a little bit of a battle further back in the pack. It's hyped going wheel to wheel with Lars for this second place. He's going to push Lars off the road. Lars has to have a little bit of a wiggle on the power. Carlsberg's going to fly around the top, but he's going to go way off the track. Can Carlsberg keep it back on the track? Can he get it back on safely? He's going to push off Hyped. Can Hyped somehow keep his car in control? He will. And he'll go all the way around side, but they bang wheels once again as they make their way into the middle part of the lap here. They're still side by side. Hyped surely has to back out of it, and he doesn't. He keeps his nose and he gets himself a penalty that maybe. Oh, and he pushes Carlsberg off the road. Carlsberg side, but he's going to spin into the side, and that is Carlsberg Albon style backwards at that corner. Carlsberg is down and out of the fight with the win now. 8 cars remain in this fight, but it is Lars and Mentos out front with Hype dropping back. They're getting caught up in that little battle there. I think those two, they both pushed way too hard. One of them pushed the other off the track. They kept retaliating on each other, and that has led to the situation we now find ourselves in. Hyped in that battle for P3, but out front it is Mentos who is doing all he can to try and hold on to that lead, to try and stay out, keep Lars out of the DRS range there. Always Hyped getting very loose as he comes down the hill. He's going to lose positions here. He's going to have to be careful on this rejoin. He's already had drama on the restart. He's already got himself a penalty, but he's now dropping back through the field and finds himself battling for 7th place with Pachuca. I mean, Hyped will be very unhappy here, as I imagine Carlsberg will be too. This is not the finish of the race those two drivers had, especially after the performance they put in the early stages. Carlsberg does now retire from the race. The question is now, can Lars get in the DRS of Mentos? If he can, that will be the opportunity to win the race, but if he can't, surely Mentos is in control. That is really the fight we have now. It's that 1.2 second gap. If we see it dip below that 1.0 second gap, that is when this race will be on. But for now, it is Mentos in control here in Interlagos.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to stop there. There was so much action on the track, so heartbreaking for Carlsberg. He led 65-70% of the race just for a safety car to halt that. But it is Mentos, your race leader at the moment, with 2 laps left here in PSGL F9 for season 29, as Lars has not got DRS. He's 1.4 seconds behind, as Kid Smoke is also over the 1 second as well. But Felix may just want to start looking over his shoulder, as Samboy is within DRS range.
Yeah, the field's starting to spread out a little bit now. You'll see Mentos up at the front, 1.4 seconds ahead of Lars. He's starting to take control of this race, but not for a second can he cruise here. Everyone on the same tyre compound. You best believe that every single one of these drivers is on the absolute limit. They are not leaving an inch spared at the moment in this race. Lars in second, Kid Smoke in P3. Kid Smoke is doing all he can to keep that gap above 1 second behind him, or ahead of him, sorry, but behind him, but he can't get a gap behind him. And as a result, Felix 1 is right on his tail. Felix 1 is going to try and take the final podium position away from Kid Smoke. Can he do anything about it? It doesn't look like it. Kid Smoke defending on the inside. Felix 1 on the outside. Can he get the position? They're still wheel to wheel. Can both AlphaTauris make the podium today? It's looking like he might just be able to do it, and he does. Through the center S, Felix 1 is up into third position, and he does have the DRS of Lars ahead. The field closing up a little bit here. Could this end up being a battle for second place here? The entire pack still nose to tail, all the way from P2 down to P8. The only driver in this race so far that seems to be able to stretch a gap is Mentos, and what a time to be able to stretch the gap. This is when it mattered, and this is when the lap times counted. I said earlier in the race that Mentos, he seemed to be conserving his DRS a little bit, and whilst that wouldn't have mattered a thing right now, it does show that he did have the pace earlier in the race, and he was just perhaps hiding that pace just a little bit. He is now on the limit, and he is now pulling away out front as we prepare to start the final lap of the race.
Yeah, as Mentos will now start the final lap here of the season in PSGL for F9, the highest assist here available on the PlayStation platform. And I tell you what, it's been an absolute fantastic season here in F9. As Mentos now crosses the line for the final lap, I'll hand you over to my fantastic commentator colleague who has joined me for every race this season, barring maybe one or two, but he will take us around for the final lap here in Brazil.
The battle for P2 is on now. Felix 1 versus Lars, the two AlphaTauri teammates battling away for that second position in this race. I don't know who I'd want to be in this scenario other than Mentos, of course. He's dominating the final few laps of this race. But the battle for P2 is well and truly up for grabs right now. I mean, Felix 1 is in that second place, Lars in P3 now, but it is so close. Lars doing all he can to stay in the DRS. Could he get him before the line as they make their way out of the final corner? Who knows? There's still a few corners between here and then, but Mentos still leading Felix 1, hunting that gap down, but it's not coming down quick enough. Although I will say Felix 1, one hell of a recovery drive here from the AlphaTauri driver. He's almost going to get in DRS to the leader here. Brilliant final couple of laps here from the AlphaTauri. He's going to put himself in a great position, but it is going to be Mentos who starts the final straight off the race. The final race of the season. It is going to be NRX Mentos who wins in Brazil. Second place is going to go to Felix 1. TRT Lars will take the final place on the podium, as it is a double podium for the AlphaTauri team. And what a race that was. That was unbelievable. What a recovery from Felix 1 there after all the drama he had in the early stages, and even on that restart he had to recover quite a few positions as well. He started last, he made his way up into the points, and on that final restart he made the moves when it mattered, got himself into second place. I think add a couple of laps onto that race and he may well have been our winner today. But today our winner was the Ferrari driver. Mentos finally gets that win. And what a drive in those final laps of the race. He knew what he had to do. He broke that DRS. He did absolutely everything right there. Felix 1 could do nothing about it, only getting back up to second place. TRT Lars, he pushed to the absolute limit in those final laps. He's rewarded with a podium, perhaps not as high on the podium as he'd want to have been, but still it's a brilliant podium there for TRT Lars, who finished the season off in style. And what a race that was right there. As I said, Mentos wins, Felix 1 second, in third it is Lars, just missing out on the podium there. It's Kid Smoke with Twosome in P5. It is Pachuca in P6 there, recovered a few positions at the end. Hyped after looking so strong, looking set for an almost certain podium in the late stages of that race. He was battling for that position 3. Him and Carlsberg, they battled a little bit too hard, they perhaps crossed the line. Hyped down into P7. Sunboy in P8, and then we have Carlsberg, who is, I believe, classified just 4 laps down in this race in P9. Black Joshi with a retirement from P10 here today. Dustly, Valbet and Powdy all finishing outside the top 10, but it is Valbet who does take home the fastest lap of the race. Storm, what do you think of that finish?
Well, it was a classic finish there from all the drivers, and I just want to say a few things, as it is the last race of the season before we head into the Christmas period and the New Year, and obviously into 2022. It's been an absolute pleasure to share my first PSGL season with someone who else has joined in their first season, with yourself, Jackson. It's been an absolute pleasure. Even when you haven't been here, you've been rooting on the comms here and the drivers involved as well, so massive thank you to yourself as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure to enjoy the season with you, from Bahrain to Monza to USA and then to Brazil here this evening. And if we aren't together next season, then whatever tier you're given, I think they'll be in for a real treat, as you are a fantastic commentator, and I wish you all the best for whatever tier you get next season and whatever you choose to do in the future as well.
Thank you very much. That does truly mean a lot there. It's been a pleasure to commentate with you this season. It's been a crazy season of highs and lows. The championship battle couldn't go down to the final race, but a part of me is almost glad, because we wouldn't have probably got such a crazy race today. Yeah. And I feel like just as a tier, it's got so great throughout the season. And I think a big part of that is you in commentary this season. As far as you've been there pretty much every week, if not every week. Even when I've missed the races, you've still been here holding up the ship, and well,
yeah. Even when my internet's gone.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Before we do go, I have to ask one final question. Race of the season. What's your picking from the races that you have attended?
Well, from the races I have attended, I think today was definitely up there. Canada was a brilliant race. I remember that finish being very good. From the races I haven't attended, I probably have to say Austria, because that finish there was a very nice one.
Yeah, it was like Russia-esque.
Yeah,
from what happened to Lando.
I certainly know what my least favourite win would, least race of the season would be, and that would be, of course, Mexico. With all the dramas we had there, a little bit of controversy involved, but I mean, it's been overall a brilliant season, and the champion Car and Rob truly deserved it. Whoever the Constructors Champions are, we don't really have a clue, to be honest. I would have to guess at Mercedes, given their strong late-season performance. It's been a truly brilliant season to commentate on, and it's been a pleasure to join you for it.
Yeah, well, that is a wrap, guys, in Season 29 for F9. Myself and Jackson have brought you all the action here from F9. We hope you've enjoyed it all, because we certainly have. From myself and Jackson, we wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully you get all the presents and everything that you wanted, and we wish you also a Happy New Year for 2022, because we won't be here until 2022. Maybe, we don't know what PSGL has in store for Season 30, but yeah, it's a thank you from myself and a goodbye as well.
Thank you, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you in the new year.